The alarm rings. It cuts through the silence of the room like a knife. You open your eyes. You see the ceiling. You see the faint light of dawn creeping through the curtains, and immediately, you feel it. The gravity. It's not just physical tiredness, it's something heavier. It feels like the air in the room has turned into lead. It presses down on your chest. It pins your arms to the mattress. The blanket, which was just a piece of fabric last night, has become a warm, heavy swamp, pulling you down, sucking you in. Your mind wakes up before your body, and instantly the mental list begins. You know exactly what you need to do today, the project you've been putting off for a week, the workout you promised yourself you would do, the difficult email you need to write. The list is screaming at you. But the distance between your warm bed and the cold floor feels like a canyon. It feels impossible to cross. So the negotiation begins. 5 more minutes, you whisper. Just 5 minutes. I'll get up then. 5 minutes becomes 10. 10 becomes 30. You pick up your phone. You scroll. You numb yourself with the bright lights of other people's lives, desperate to avoid living your own. We call this laziness. We call it procrastination. And when you finally do drag yourself out of bed, hours late, you carry a heavy backpack of guilt. You tell yourself, I am weak. I am undisciplined. I am broken. But what if I told you that you are wrong? What if I told you that this paralysis, this heaviness, is not a flaw in your character? What if I told you that the most powerful man in the history of the world felt exactly the same way? Travel back with me 2,000 years to the northern frontier of the Roman Empire. Forget the marble statues you see in museums. Those are cold stone. I want you to imagine the flesh and blood man, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, the ruler of the known world. He is sleeping in a military tent. Outside, the wind is howling. It is freezing cold. The mud is frozen solid. He is an old man now. His body is aching. He has ulcers in his stomach. He has been fighting a war for 10 years that seems to have no end. He is curled up under a pile of heavy fur blankets, seeking the only warmth he can find in this brutal world. He knows he has to get up. He knows armies are waiting for his command. He knows the Senate is waiting for his letters. But he doesn't want to move. He wants to stay in the warmth. He wants to hide. We know this because he wrote it down. In his private journal, the book we now call Meditations, we find a conversation. But it's not a conversation with a general or a god. It is an argument with himself. And it is the exact same argument you had with yourself this morning. He writes in Book 5, At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. Listen to the tone of that. He is coaching himself. He is struggling. He asks himself, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? And then the voice of resistance speaks up, the voice of comfort. But it's nicer here. And Marcus replies with a hammer blow. So you were born to feel nice? Instead of doing things and experiencing them, he looks around him. He looks at the natural world, and he feels ashamed. He writes, Don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants and spiders and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best they can? Look at the bee. Does a bee stay in the hive because it doesn't feel like flying today? Does an ant sit in the tunnel complaining about the weight of the crumb? Does a spider procrastinate spinning its web because it's afraid of failure? No, They act according to their design. They fulfill their purpose without question. They do not argue with their nature. But you are the only animal that argues with its own existence. You are the only animal that can imagine a future and then refuse to move towards it. You are the only animal that chooses to rot in comfort rather than grow in struggle. Marcus asks himself the final, devastating question. And you're not willing to do your job as a human being? Why aren't you running to do what your nature demands? But we have to sleep sometime, the voice of comfort argues. Agreed, Marcus says, but nature set a limit on that, as it did on eating and drinking. And you're over the limit. You've had more than enough of that, but not of working. There, you're still below your quota. This is the first realization. Laziness is not rest. Rest is a reward for work. Rest restores you. Laziness drains you. When you procrastinate, you are not preserving energy. You are creating a civil war inside your own soul. Part of you wants to move. Part of you wants to stay. And this war consumes more energy than the work ever would. You think you are avoiding pain by staying in bed? No. You are trading the pain of discipline for the pain of regret. And the pain of regret is heavy. It is a poison that seeps into your bones. So, why do we do it? If we know it hurts us, why do we freeze? Why did Marcus Aurelius have to fight this battle every single morning? Because we are misunderstanding the enemy. We think the enemy is work, but the enemy is not work. The enemy is fear. Let's dissect this fear. You might say, I'm not afraid, I'm just tired, I'm just bored. But look closer. Why do you procrastinate on writing that report? Is it because typing is physically painful? No. It is because you are afraid the report won't be good enough. You are afraid of judgment. You are afraid of the confrontation with your own incompetence. Why do you procrastinate on going to the gym? Because you are afraid of the discomfort. You are afraid of the pain of exertion. You are afraid of looking weak. Procrastination is a defense mechanism. It is your ego trying to protect you. Your ego whispers, if I don't try, I can't fail. If I wait until the last minute, I have an excuse for why it's not perfect. You are not lazy. You are a perfectionist who is terrified of the messy process of beginning. You are protecting an ideal version of yourself, one who never fails, by refusing to enter the arena where failure is possible. Seneca, another great Stoic, diagnosed this perfectly. He said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The wall of fire you see? It is a hologram. The pain of doing the work is never as bad as the pain of anticipating the work. The dread of the cold shower is agonizing. The cold shower itself is just cold, and then it is over. But as long as you stay in bed, as long as you delay, you are keeping the dread alive. You are feeding the monster. So, how do we break this paralysis? How do we convince the brain that the cost of inaction is higher than the cost of action? We must use the ultimate weapon of the Stoics, a tool so sharp it cuts through every excuse, every lie, and every layer of comfort. Memento Mori. Remember that you must die. Most of us live as if we are going to live forever. We treat time as if it is cheap, as if it is an infinite resource. We say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start next week. I'm not ready yet. Seneca wrote a furious essay called On the Shortness of Life. He screamed across the centuries at us. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. You are afraid of everything, failure, pain, judgment, so you hide. But you desire everything, success, fitness, legacy, so you act like you have 1,000 years to achieve them. You don't. You don't have 1,000 years. You might not even have tomorrow. Think about that bed you are lying in. It feels safe. It feels warm. But one day, and this is a mathematical certainty, you will lie down in a bed or a box, and you will never get up again. Your heart will beat its final rhythm. Your neurons will fire their final spark, and the universe will continue without you. Does that scare you? Good. It should. But the Stoics didn't use this to be morbid. They didn't use it to depress themselves. They used it to wake up. When you realize the hourglass is running out, laziness becomes impossible. Boredom becomes a sin. Procrastination becomes an insult to the life you have left. Imagine if you knew, for a fact, that you had exactly 1 week left to live. Would you stay in bed scrolling through social media? Would you worry about whether your work is perfect? Would you care if people judge you? No. You would get up. You would do what matters. You would squeeze every drop of life out of the time you have. Marcus Aurelius used this thought every morning to fight the gravity of the blankets. He asked himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He didn't say this to make himself sad. He said it to cut the ropes of the hesitation. Here is the shift. Stop looking at the work as something you have to do. Start looking at the ability to work as something you get to do. You get to struggle. You get to feel the cold floor. You get to be tired from effort. Because you are alive. Because you are not dead yet. Laziness is the state of a stone. Action is the state of a human. When you procrastinate, you are practicing death while you are still alive. Don't be a corpse before your time. But I know what you are thinking. Okay, I'm awake. I see the death. I see the fear. But the task is still huge. I'm still overwhelmed. How do I actually start? This brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. The technique that Marcus used to conquer empires, one step at a time. You are awake. You know the time is short. But you look at the mountain in front of you, the project, the business, the body you want to build, and you freeze again. It is too big. It is too high. The Stoics understood this paralysis. They knew that the mind exaggerates the difficulty of the future. Marcus Aurelius gave us a specific instruction for this. He said, "Don't let the panorama of your life oppress you. Do not dwell on all the various troubles which may have occurred in the past or may occur in the future. Just ask yourself in every present moment, what is there in this work which I cannot endure? Forget the mountain. Forget the finish line. Forget the goal. Procrastination feeds on the big picture. When you think about writing a whole book, you freeze. When you think about writing one sentence, you act. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, said, "Well-being is realized by small steps, but is truly no small thing." Here is the strategy. Lower the bar. Lower it until it is so low you cannot fail. Don't promise yourself you will work for 4 hours. Promise yourself you will open the laptop. Just open it. That's it. Don't promise yourself you will run 10 kilometers. Promise yourself you will put on your shoes. Why does this work? Because of physics. The hardest part of moving a heavy object is not keeping it moving. It is getting it to move from a dead stop. It is the static friction. Once you take that microscopic first step, once you put on the shoes, once you write the first word, you break the static friction. You create momentum. And here is the magic. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel good to act. You act, and then you feel good. The fire doesn't start itself. You strike the match first. So, go back to that bed. Go back to that moment of paralysis. The bed is not a sanctuary. It is a cage, and you hold the key. The key is not willpower. The key is not motivation. The key is simply movement, any movement. Twitch a finger, sit up, put one foot on the floor. Do not negotiate with your mind. Do not wait for the argument to end. Just move. You are a sculptor. Your life is the marble. Every morning you stay in bed, you leave the marble rough and unformed. Every morning you get up, you chip away a piece of the stone. Is it painful? Yes. Is it tiring? Yes. But look at what emerges from the stone. Character, self-respect, freedom. You are carving yourself. Do not leave your masterpiece unfinished. Tomorrow morning the alarm will ring again. The gravity will be there. The voice of comfort will be there. The argument will begin. But now, you know what to do. You know that the comfort is a lie. You know that time is running out. And you know that the only way out is through. Don't think, don't argue, just stand up. This is core wisdom. If this video helped you wake up, subscribe. We have much work to do. See you in the arena.